Good morning, good people of a great nation. It's a pleasure and honor to bring this fresh edition of Development Focus with Jide on ITV to your viewing pleasure today, 11th day of May 2022. My name is Jide. I'm the anchor. And before I forget, please come do business with us. This program is open up for sponsorship and advert placement. If you find what we are doing good enough, please come talk to us at our marketing and sales department and let's do business together. Let's use our program to also promote your own business and services. My first discussion this morning will be on issue of school children. In the recent past, a lot is happening in our schools. I'm not talking on strike. Yes, ASU is on strike. We know that. And 2 days ago, ASU has rolled over from initial 3 months warning strike to 3 months of full-blown strike. I don't know what difference that is. For all I know is that public universities have been shut since about February this year. News reporters say that the federal government team and the ASU leadership will be having meeting perhaps next week, next Monday. But what of concern to us, which we want to express this morning, is the moral decadence of school children. From primaries to secondary to university, a lot is happening which were unprecedented when people like me were growing up. Issue of cultism, issue of sexual harassment, issue of even school children beating up their teachers. Where did we get it wrong? How did we come to this sorry pass? Anyway, I brought somebody to come and explain this for us. She's not a teacher, but she works in the development sector. She's the project coordinator for education with ActionAid Nigeria. She's a lady of substance, a woman of timber and caliber, Iroko and Obeche. I've known Keta for a very long time, over 15, 20 years now, when she was with the Community Action for Popular Participation. So, Kutagiwa, you're welcome on the show.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. So, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you come to be in the development sector? You read agricultural extension and management. So, why are you not in the agri sector?
Well, after my youth...
Who is Kutagiwa? Just tell us about yourself.
Okay. Kutagiwa is a woman.
I can see that, and viewers can see that. That you are
a one that is passionate about issues of injustice. I'm from Niger State. Like I said, my background is in agri extension and management. But due to the circumstances in the country after my youth service, it was difficult, trying to get a job with the agri firms that I had worked with, some of the banks that I had served, and where I had done my IT services, and even getting jobs with state government. So there was an opening in the NGO you talked about, Community Action for Popular Participation, and it was for an education intervention in FCT. And so it was funded by Comic Relief through ActionAid Nigeria. And so they were looking for someone who understands the local language, and that's how I got the information applied, and here I am today. Over 20 years experience of working in the development sector. I am passionate about issues of women's rights, passionate about injustice, like I said, social justice, and of course passionate about issues that affect children, especially the girl child. I'm a humanitarian. I do my best to an extent, and I love to meet people, and in the course of my work I've had opportunities to meet a lot of people and also participate in some government assignments, including the national assignment. I was a member of the last constitutional conference.
Okay, the one of 2014?
40 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. So you are part of those who went to chop at the conference?
Yes, I was.
7 billion. We are told 7 billion was spent and Baba Buhari will not touch that conference. Isn't that, I don't know whether you've watched that video where Buhari was asked what he was going to do with the conference report. And he said, well, he has not read it, but he's not even caring, because as at the time the conference was holding, as he was on strike, and that kind of money should have been spent to revamp our education. So people are now playing that tape now and say, you were castigating your predecessor, saying he was wasteful in organizing that conference. But here you are, under your watch, ASUA has been going on strike every year. And you didn't find anything funny with that. Anyway, sorry for that breaking into your thoughts. So, land on.
So, and I represented the civil society there. And just like you said, yes, it's quite sad that the report, nothing has been done. But somehow, a lot of agitation has been going around some of the issues that were raised and the recommendations that were also made in that report as well. So, I found myself in the development sector. I've worked on issues of peace and conflict resolution. I've worked on issues around gender, promoting accountability in governance, especially with working with local groups, community-based structures. I also have done some work around education, transforming education for girls, working with teachers and a whole lot of stakeholders that I've engaged with in the course of my work. And currently, I coordinate the education project for Action Aid Nigeria, where we work to ensure that all children have access to quality, publicly funded inclusive education. And the project is about to round up. We have worked in 2 states, and of course we have tremendous interesting stories to share as regards some of the issues that you have raised, because we've conducted a lot of research, and the research has actually found that these issues are true. They actually happen in schools, and we've also looked at some of the measures that have been put in place, some of the measures we have also put in place, proposed to governments, and of course how we've also worked with government to ensure that some policies are responsive to the needs of children in school, so that we'll be able to contribute a little quota to the achievement of SDG 4.
That was a very good overview. And you know, like I told the viewers, you may not be a teacher, but working in the education sector, conducting research is also part of, you know, contributing to the transformation of the educational sector. Because, come to think of it, without education, where are we? Where are we headed? Human capital development is all about education, isn't it? Yes. You've mentioned SDG 4. So let's start from there. How close or how far are we in realizing that SDG goal 4? SDG is projected to end by 2030. This is 2022. We have barely 8 years left. Are we on track achieving SDG goal 4?
I must confess that we are not doing very well. I say this because of the statistics that puts Nigerian out-of-school children as the highest in the world, one of the highest. We have statistics ranging from 10.5 million to some that say it's about 13.2 million. And so if the slogan for SDG is to ensure no child is left behind, I guess we are not doing well if we still have this high number of children who are out of school. And then again, we also have not done well in terms of ensuring those infrastructures and services that will make children access the quality, publicly funded inclusive education is not provided. We have a lot of children who are out of school. We have marginalized group, vulnerable children, including those living with disability, who are out of school. So with this reason, I think we're still far. We've not done much. Not many states have signed on to the disability law. Not many states have access to UBE fund. We also have some states who do not access these funds to be able to put their counterpart funding and ensure that the adequate infrastructures are provided. You go to schools, you find a lot of challenges. Challenges of lack of furniture, children sitting on the ground, lack of adequate teachers, infrastructures are dilapidated. Children are learning outside or under the trees, sitting on bare ground, like I said. And
but there is Sakefa. Well, I don't know. You interface with Sakefa.
Oh, sure we do.
So anyway, maybe I'm jumping the gun, because let's first x-ray what the challenges are, and then we can look at interventions that organizations like yours, like Sakefa, and other like-minded, organizations, particularly the development sector, has been able to do. So go on with your observations.
Yes. So I've talked about the lack of adequate infrastructure, teachers, no toilet facilities, no water in schools in some states. We even have some schools, some communities that have structures, but the teachers to teach are not there, especially in very rural areas. We have absence of female teachers as well. And then, of course, lack of citizens' participation in the delivery of education. I say this because there is a guideline, a policy by government to have what you call school-based management committee in public schools. Now, when this started, I think in 2004, other development partners such as UNICEF, ActionAid, and so many other people provided support for these structures to work effectively, and they were effective as at that time. But if you go to some states now, some of the SBMCs that were set up are no longer functional.
Why?
Now, so many reasons: lack of capacity, and then lack of understanding of the guideline around the establishment of SBMCs in schools. And so there's also a feeling of threat to the Parent Teachers Association that this group have come to take over their role. And so a lot of people come into that group with a lot of expectations. So you have SBMCs who come thinking that when they go for meetings, they expect certain allowances, and all that. They are looking for, and then of course over dependence. Government expecting the SBMCs to do what is beyond their capacity in terms of raising resources to address infrastructural gap in the school. The SBMCs to an extent have tried. Some of them are trying, going out using resources. But
the SBMC is school-based
management committees where they are functional.
School-based management committee. Okay.
Yes.
SBMC.
Yes. So
these are different from PTAs.
Yes, they are.
Parent Teachers
Association.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
And is government funding the SBMC?
At some point, there is a provision through the social mobilization unit. There was a support for their training and all that, but I don't think that has continued. Even where the support is not even adequate, because the different states also have their own SBMC policy, and so drawing from the national guideline, states have their states guidelines, and so sometimes providing that needed support for them to be very functional has been a challenge, right? And so some of them feel discouraged, to continue with that service. It's a volunteer kind of group, which is, saddled with the responsibility of school governance to ensure that where there are challenges, they can help run around, support the head teacher or school heads, to address issues, including issues of children enrollment in school. I know to an extent, with support and interventions with UNICEF and other development partners, they go carry out school enrollment drive campaigns to ensure that when schools are reopening, people bring back their children in school, especially where girl child enrollment is an issue, especially in northern parts of Nigeria. So these are some of the challenges we face, and of course, the issues you talked in your introductory statements. We have issues around sexual harassment in between students, and then teacher-student forms of harassment, keeping some children out of school, and then of course we also have the attitude of parents, and of course the new thing, like people don't even see the value of education again. I was in one of the states and we were told that some children are beginning to say education is a scam.
Yeah, it's trending now. Education is said to be a scam.
A scam,
because of the fact that in their own opinion, you can make it without education. After all, this one dropped out of school, he's a billionaire, that one dropped out of school, this one never had more than primary education. They will even point at Dangote that how much education does Dangote have. No, so that's why I brought you. You, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, and as somebody working in the education sector. Let's look at the moral decadence. We've looked at the wider challenge, and there are quite a number of them. You've mentioned quite a number. What is the state of moral decadence in schools? What manifestations? I've talked about some. Your surveys, your research may have also unearthed some. What, in your opinion, somebody working in this sector, are the issues, the core critical moral issues in schools?
Okay, so let me start this way. When you and I were growing up, and once we see our teacher, there's a way you conduct yourself when you see a teacher.
Of course, now.
But these days, the teachers will tell you how students are even talking back at them. The respect for teachers is no longer there. Maybe because, again, they have also been demotivated as a result of poor remuneration and all that. There are also issues of unprofessionalism in the discharge of those responsibilities as teachers. But good enough, the NUT will work with them, and of course, at some extent, they've also tried to advocate for professionalism. But now, within schools, a teacher is employed to teach, guide, right? In some of the schools, you have teachers who are supposed to be like watching over these children, get into relationship with the students.
There's what is called in loco parentis. Teachers are supposed to be the parents in the school
at that time. Yeah.
When the pupils, when the students are in school.
Sure.
So when you now get sexually or amorous relationship with your student.
So we have those kind of issues, right? It's so bad. Let's not pretend it does not exist, because that's my problem. Sometimes when we hear some of these challenges, we tend to pretend.
We paper over it and say, no, it's not isolated situation.
It's not really isolated. It is happening. It is happening.
No, I mean, Keta, we have, is it Dowen College? No, the one in Abuja, the school at Lugbe, where they said one of the staff of the school, whether teaching or non-teaching staff, had the carnal knowledge of that girl, a 14-year-old. According to, is it post-mortem they did?
Test.
There is a condom that was found in the vagina of the girl, who is from Benue State. I forgot her name.
Yeah,
the school is trying to shield the identity, and this 14-year-old girl was said to be diabetic, and all manner of issues. Then you ask, a 14-year-old who is in school, boarding school, how come she's already having sex?
Well, several reasons account for that. So we also have concerns around the lack of sex education for children, growing adolescents, when people attain puberty. There's a form of information they need to have, and as a society, we tend to shy away from that kind of
sex
information.
Education. Don't say it.
Exactly. And we even give it in the wrong way. Like a young girl is growing up and they'll tell you, don't allow a man touch you. That's the way we used to say it before.
Yeah.
Instead of being open about it. Exactly. And so when you don't give that child that kind of education, especially from the home front, when they go out, they mingle with a lot of their peers. And of course, the tendency to be influenced by the people around them and what their friends do brings some of them into such kind of things.
Let's identify the issues.
Yeah,
so we have sexual harassment between teachers and their students. Issue of students talking back at their teachers, not giving their teachers due respect. Even at primary and secondary school level. Okay, what are the other ones?
The others are children in school have access to things they are not supposed to have access to. We tend to think we are showing love to our children, so we buy them gadgets, buy them clothes, exactly. And so they are exposed to...
They are already making hair.
Thank you.
Fixing nails.
Heavy makeup.
In
Makeup
primary
to school.
Heavy makeup.
For crying out loud, we are going to a school. We are going to learn. What are you making up for?
You know, I read of a story where a teacher trying to discipline the child, the girl child had a pound of fixed hair
extension or whatever.
Hair extension, or maybe she palmed her. And the teacher, in trying to discipline, cut the hair and said, "No, this is unacceptable in this school." Did you know the father of the girl child came to school and asked for the identity of the female teacher and used his own
to cut her?
To cut. I mean, you can imagine. In my days, I'm just shocked because in my days in school, you even see your teacher. You are dreading to pass through the staff room.
Yeah.
If you have anything that will take you to staff room, you are already reciting Psalm 23. God is my shepherd.
I tell you.
But today,
it has gone so bad. So yes, of course, then when the school authorities are trying to take some measures, you have parents, of course, like you said, going to challenge school authority. I mean, for what reason? You should know that your child is going in the midst of people, and of course, whatever that child goes with will be an influence to other children, right?
Exactly. The issue of lateness, is it part of it?
Now, the other issue is some children will leave home in the name of going to school, but they don't get to school.
In fact, what I learned is that they will keep extra clothes.
Exactly. They carry mufti in their bags.
Yeah.
Some leave the house in the name of going to school, but they don't go to school. Go and hang in the homes of some boyfriend. Some play along the way, get to school late. You know, all that. So
a trending video of girls of school in Lagos smoking shisha.
Yeah, we are getting I'm coming to those other things. Those other things.
This issue is very widespread.
Partying.
Exactly.
Partying. By the time you begin to attend parties.
And like we are talking of kids, not even undergraduate of university or tertiary. We are talking of teenagers, or even beyond, before they become teenagers.
Yes.
Because I don't know, Keta, the latest one that actually prompted me to want to illustrate this issue was the issue of Christian school in Lagos. They went for a world whatever in Dubai. And did you see the video?
Honestly, I did not watch the video. I was too pained.
I watched the video. This is a 10-year-old girl. So when we are saying teenagers, they are not teenagers. A 10-year-old girl that already have a website,
Facebook account,
yes,
social media, very active, with so many followers,
over 100,000 videos.
Yeah,
and she was having sex with another schoolmate, not even teacher now. We are talking of child having sexual intercourse with themselves in an hotel room in Dubai, and somebody is filming it. Anyway, before you respond to that, we will go on a short commercial break actually. We'll be back in a bit. Welcome back from that short commercial break. Keta, let me put you on the spot. Will you allow your child to be in boarding school?
Yes, my children are in boarding school.
They are in boarding school?
Yes.
So how do you oversight them?
Okay, so apart from the matrons, there are matrons and housemasters, I also have a guardian in school. And then, of course, we also visit them. I chose not to put them in schools very far where I can easily go and see them. So whether it is visiting day or not, I go there.
Okay.
And the school my children attend, upon resumption, they are made to sign an undertaking. Why? Because something happened, a senior student beat up a junior student, and when the school authority was punishing the boy, Before you know it, he had alerted his parents, and the parents stormed the school with police.
In Abuja,
Yeah. The parents stormed the school and came with police. They want to pick up the teacher that beat up their child. And since then, apart from the odd measures put in place by the school to also ensure they check what the students come to school with, as you resume, search what you're coming to school with. You don't come with what they call the contraband, right?
So what are the contrabands? Maybe you let us.
Contraband are clothes you're not supposed to come to school with, the provisions of things they don't want you to bring to school, and other gadgets. Maybe you sneak in some things, phones and all that. So some of those things are. Even bread is not allowed in my children's school. Bread.
Why?
I was there in the school when a mother resumed. She brought her child and she had a loaf of bread. They told her to take it back. And my daughter would tell me, "Mommy, don't bring it." My matron would not allow me.
They will seize it.
So, highest if she wants bread, when she calls before visiting, I can go with a piece for her. She will eat there and that's it. Right? And then of course, like I said, I also do my own regular check, talking to the matrons and guardian once in a while. Once my son calls that he wants anything, first thing I'm doing is I'm calling the guardian. Is the school demanding for this? What do we do? You know, with that guidance, I know what to do. And of course, we also relate with the principals. Where they have academic problems, we discuss what should be done and all that. So the school is, and then when I go for visiting, I try to know who are my sons or children's friends. I make them introduce those children to me. I get to meet them. If their parents are there, we get to exchange contacts. And of course, I try to find out what is the relationship. Are they classmates and all that? You know, and all those. So for me, it's also something that parents have neglected over time. You have children who they mingle with, sometimes you don't even know. Some homes, the time the children come back home, some parents do not care. Of course, times are hard. People will say they are going out to look for daily bread. I understand all that. But we need to spare time, right? And pay more attention to our children now. Because the situation out there is bad. When we don't have time for them, somebody else outside there will have time for them. Right?
Okay.
So
let's be exhaustive about the moral decadence issue. So I want us to first deal with that. Then let's look at the root causes, because I think we are talking about the causes alongside the issues.
Yeah, sure.
But I want those who are watching us to have clarity about what are the issues. When you talk about moral decadence, we have identified lack of respect for teachers. We have identified the issue of sexual harassment
and abuse.
Abuse. Okay. Any other one?
Yes, bullying.
Bullying.
We've talked about partying.
Okay, partying.
We've talked about truancy.
Yes, truancy. Students, pupils leaving home, not going to school, going to parties, smoking,
or even get to school and sneak out. We have what they call scaling in some boarding schools.
Scaling friends.
Scaling the fence and going out and all that. And so we also have found out that there are issues of internet fraud.
Even in schools?
Yes.
Primary, secondary schools. Yahoo,
yes.
Oh.
We found that out recently.
As in secondary school?
Education is a scam, so you do Yahoo and get money. That's why I talked about the access to the gadgets, right?
So,
and then you have cultism as well.
Cultism. That one we used to think it's at the tertiary level.
No. It's cascading down to the secondary schools. And I was shocked to have heard about it when the students were talking about it. You know? Several reasons, and all that. So there are several of them. But the issue is, like I said, agreeing that these things happen and then finding a way around them, right? So
all this wide range of issues, from cultism in schools, internet fraud, sexual abuse and harassment, truancy, lack of respect for teachers, and indecent dressing.
Indecent dressing, yes.
Indecent dressing. The list seems endless, actually.
Yes.
Alcoholism.
We talked about shisha as well. Yeah. So when they go to parties,
Because there was a boy, a trending video at some point. This one is even in Islamic school, Islamic secondary school. These boys took excuse, or whether they were not even excused. They went in Ilorin, it's happened in Kwarase, went to a party, and they demanded for alcohol. And this is a Quranic school. So when the proprietor of the school got wind of what happened, the particular boy that demanded and took alcohol was beaten black and blue. But you know what? The father even commended the school for the discipline. Everybody was like, this was too much. What, do you want to kill the boy? What's the big deal in taking a bottle of beer? And that people were making comments around that. That was last year. I don't know whether you did.
Just to even cut you. No, I remember the situation. I heard about it. Now, there are different kinds of drinks, mixtures. So you're talking of, I don't know whether it's cocktail. You take like Castella, put some things inside, it makes you high.
Drug abuse. I think we are talking about drug abuse now.
Yes.
Because so, it comes in different manifestations.
Yeah.
They take tramadol, they take codeine, then mix Lacasera with some stuff, all manner of things. So it has also got into our schools.
Yeah.
Okay. I think enough said on the issue itself. So what are the causes? Let's come to the causes before we look at the solution.
Several reasons are responsible for some of these issues we've talked about. Like I said earlier, from the home front, right? What you allow your child to do, also determines some of the things you go and, get into out there. And so the lack of adequate monitoring by parenting. So, like I said, people are out there trying to survive, make a living for the family. And so they do not have adequate time for their children. They come back, it's already late, and the next morning everybody is preparing to go out. There's no time to check whether that boy went to school, what was the lesson that was taught that day. That way, that's how you even start to check truancy. When you check their notes, you find there's a way my father used to do it then. I come from school every day, he goes through my books to check what I've done, what I've learned, and then ask him questions, what happened in school today. So we also have those kind of challenges.
Were you in boarding school?
Yes, I went to a boarding school as well.
You went to a boarding school?
Both. I did both day and
boarding.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and then, like I said, what you buy for your children in the name of showing them love, you care for them. The children asking for things they're not supposed to own at that age.
How could a teenager be talking about having a smartphone?
Exactly.
I mean, I think the school also has a blame in that.
Yeah, I'm coming to the part of the
school. Let's
go. So I was just talking now from the home front, I know COVID-19 came and we had to do online lessons and all that. I would say to an extent that also contributed to maybe people having access to phones so that they can participate in the online learning. But the subsequent use of the phone, and then sometimes when you have children withdrawing and being on their own, as a parent, try to check what's happening. And then when your child comes home and tells you, I don't want to go to that school again, like the case of Sylvester.
Sylvester
in Lagos case, yes. I don't want to go to that school. We need to find out what is the problem.
I think that boy died of bullying.
Yes, in the school and all that. So, and then when we go out, we allow our children to, do things they're not supposed to. So parental control is very key. And then now in the school.
No, before we go, let me pause you. There was a trending video, again, of mothers supervising erotic dance steps of their children, as in, I'm talking of 6-7-year-old. Did you see that? As in, they were teaching them how to have an erotic dance. And I saw in that video, women, ladies, saying this is how you do it. we're not talking of teenagers here. These are not teenagers.
Children, yeah.
I'm talking of children. They were doing maybe children party, and they were having an erotic.
Yeah.
That's the best I can use to describe this.
Yes.
I watch.
Yeah. It happens. People go to parties, and of course, the kind of music that is being played,
lewd music,
and so people want to now dance the styles that the artists and others are dancing, and that's what leads to the erotic. Because that's what they see. Watching, so also the kind of things our children watch on TV, on the musical stations and on their phones.
On their phones, because if you deny, there's a church that doesn't. Well, I don't know whether in those days or whether it's still happening. The church that forbids their congregation from having TV, believing there is a devil's box that you should not watch TV is a sin. Whether that church still believes in that, I don't know, but there is a very popular church with millions of adherents in Nigeria that doesn't encourage. But even if you don't watch TV, what about phones? And on your phone, you can watch TV, you can watch.
And then you watch your peers as well, from other homes.
Exactly.
From other homes.
So you get indoctrinated.
Yeah, you get indoctrinated. So these are some of the reasons from the home front. Now, when they go out, our school system, some of our schools are, we talked about inadequate teacher as a challenge, and that is contributing to some of the challenges that we have. Because the children are too many.
Particularly in public schools.
There is high pupil teacher ratio. So how can one teacher watch over 100 children? It's a challenge. While he's teaching, some of them are busy doing different things behind.
Bullying each other,
pinching each other, touching each other in inappropriate places. And all that. And then we also do not have some functional guidance and counseling staff in the school. Some just appoint, but they are not professionals.
They just appoint one teacher to designate them.
Exactly, so that let's just have this person in charge of this. But the person is not really a trained person, has not gone through any form of training about how to handle issues. And so we had a situation where some students were telling us when they have problems, they cannot even go to the GNC because the whole school will hear it.
They are not confidential.
They are not confidential. So these are some of the things I was talking about, not being professional, not having those adequate training to handle such kind of issues. And so, like we said, and then we talked about bullying. Bullying within students. Boys harassing girls, right? And sometimes if you take action, they threaten to beat you after school. We have all those situations. And then we've talked about the teachers as well. You're supposed to be teaching. You do not have any business going beyond teaching and putting the child through learning. But you find a situation where people, in the name of teaching a child, you are doing something else. We have cases where somebody says, kneel down. You are punishing a student, but you are asking her to unbutton her dress so that you can look at her breast.
Her boobs.
Her boobs, yes. So these are some of the things. So some of our teachers, especially, having relationship with teenagers.
Inappropriate relationship.
Exactly. When your duty is to teach this child, put this child through to become something. Exactly. And
now you are the one even feasting and
sending them on errands, inviting them to your home, sending them, giving them addresses, calling them on the phone. Something happened in one of the schools we work in, and they created a platform to prepare students for the online registration and all that. One of the teachers now took advantage and got the phone number of a student he has been interested in
to date
and started sending her unnecessary messages. So there are several reasons and factors, right? People want to also belong. Students, you see your peers with shoes. The school has a standard of what should be done. How are we ensuring that these standards are being complied? Which comes to the issue of the makeup we talked about, and if it's not allowed, it is not allowed. Students don't wear hair extensions to school. They don't palm their head. If it is low cut, everybody wants low cut. Some people will prefer.
When I was in school, every Friday, the school would tell the girls what kind of hair
to make
against when they would resume on Monday. And there are different local, very attractive hairstyles.
Exactly.
But today we have children wearing waves, making pedicure and manicure.
Exactly.
Pedicure and manicure.
So as a parent, why would you even want to start exposing your child to those kind of things?
Fixing.
There is time for everything. Eyelashes, heavy makeup, and now
and you are going to school.
Yeah, and surprisingly, some of the students are also learning it as a skill, and so they can do it for themselves.
But shouldn't there be time for everything?
That's what I was saying.
If you have to learn it and apply it, then finish your school.
Exactly.
But situations where I mean, I'm just afraid.
Yeah.
What our schools will turn to in the next 5-10 years.
Exactly.
Because this all manner of abuses that takes place within the school were things that in the 80s and 90s, in the 70s were isolated. And no issue of bullying wasn't as if it started today. We have seniors bullying juniors in school, particularly in boarding schools.
Yes.
We have scenarios like that. Yeah. We also have this inappropriate relationship between teachers. I have seen a teacher who married his former student.
Did he allow her to finish school? That's the first thing.
Yes, but I think the relationship perhaps started while
in school.
Girl was in school. And I'm talking of secondary school.
Yeah. No, a lot of that happens. Like some of them are impregnated and they drop out, and so the next thing is to marry them. Some of them are impregnated by some of the teachers who have a relationship with them. So, and that's another challenge we didn't talk about: teenage pregnancy. Baby mothers. Exactly.
No, it's a phenomenon actually. Yeah. Like I said, I did say that this is inexhaustible.
Yeah, sure.
Because when you look at moral decadence, of course, when you start having sexual relationship at a very tender age, anything can come out of it. Sure. So you have unwanted pregnancy, you have abortion, procuring abortion inappropriately.
Yes.
Some will say go and use
take all manner of things, all concoctions,
and then the thing will be go off. And that's how some women lose their wombs.
Yes.
Or become barren for life.
Sure.
So you have put the blame on parents
as
lack
well.
of proper parenting,
parents, guardians
not doing, teachers also being complicit.
And the school system itself.
Okay.
The school system itself.
How so?
You think you are in, like I said, you have standards, right? And if any student, by any way defaults, what are the punitive measures that you have? And so you shared an example of what happened in Ilorin, right? If that kind of thing is sustained, it will go a long way in reducing some of these issues we've talked about. But where it is condoned, somebody else has the guarantee to repeat it and do the same again, because he's going to go scot-free, right? You also don't have mechanisms for people to report things that are happening.
Did you know, Keita, that when the latest one that happened in Chrisland happened, the one that I said a 10-year-old having a sex romp with another class, a classmate, there was shortly after that incident was reported. By the way, news has it that 4 of the teachers have been arraigned in court for concealment of facts and all of that. But what about the children who are engaged? Because it's not the teacher and
the perpetrators, you mean?
The perpetrators are, maybe because they are minors. But what happens? You were talking about school systems,
yes.
Did you know there was a video that surfaced, and somebody said that video was of maybe one event in Chrisland School, where shockingly I saw these girls that are not even up to maybe teenagers, to be more charitable, to say they were exposing their boobs. They were doing catwalk and exposing their boobs, or some will just add a shift of their bra as if they are doing beauty pageant. So they were doing catwalk, and then one particular daring girl even went topless. I was doing catwalk, and in that, the person who shared that video with me said this happened in Chrisland. So it has a precedent before the one that happened in Dubai actually took place. So I'm just saying this to corroborate your issue about the school system.
What they condone, the kind of things they organize, right?
Should you be organizing beauty pageant for or doing modeling?
If we are doing modeling, let's do it with our native attire. We have cultural days. People will wear their native attire. Children will come to school in Iran, Buba, come in the Igbo attire and looking well dressed, but not to be encouraging students to wear skimpy and indecent dresses in the name of doing modeling and all that. Just like we said earlier, there is time for everything. We know we have children models or modeling for children, but then what kind of clothes should we be using the children to model? What kind of outfit are we looking at here? We're talking about clothes where the ladies expose their private parts and all that. Is that what should be the concern of the parents or whoever is organizing that thing at that time? What action has been taken to correct that? And just like you said, because it was condoned and so it built up, and then resulted to the issue of their truth and their game that was played in Dubai that led to that video. I hear it was a game they were playing.
Oh, okay.
That it was a game, truth and their game.
That led to...
That's what I read.
Anyway, some of us are old school, so I don't even know what is truth and fake.
So they will read up something. If you say you corroborate that it is true, or they will read up something and you try it. That's the dare. You dare it.
Okay. Truth and dare.
Yes.
Jide is old school, so don't blame me if I don't know what they call truth and dare. But so does government have an issue? Is there an issue with the government? Because we have very limited time left, and we need to start looking at the solution. So what is government's own in this? We have talked about the school system, the teachers, the guardians, the students, peer groups, and all of that as the root causes. Does government also have a blame in this?
Yes, in a way I would say they do, because we've worked with some state governments and they would tell you they don't condone some of these things in school. But they are happening. So the question is, if you've had this policy or this declaration or this directive, this should not be condoned in school. The next thing is also to check. Is there any monitoring mechanism in place?
Are there no longer school inspectors? I think there are school inspectors, LEI or local education inspectors. They forgot.
No, there are the inspectors that we have now. What they do is not what the inspectors that used to do before.
So what do they do? What do the contemporary
They don't want to go to school and call. They are coming for monitoring, and so it's like a celebration. So the school is also preparing for the inspector that is coming, packaging things and all that. And so
they just sit in the principal's
they may not even go around. Just go there.
They sit in the prison and then they went.
They will attempted to, and that will be it.
And then they will say we have everything is in order.
And that's where I said the government has said it cannot do it alone. That's the slogan. It cannot do it alone. So that's why I was mentioning structures like the school-based management committee and other informal structures. For instance, what we've tried to do in some of our interventions in school is to set up what we call safe space for girls.
So run us through in the few minutes we have left what your intervention in Action Aid has been, your interface, what maybe other groups like SACEFA, UNICEF, what are the initiatives that have been done or being done to checkmate this moral decadence in our schools?
So these groups, SACEFA, Action Aid, other organizations, we go to schools and we hear all those reports. These reports sometimes may be presented to government. So the problem now is government admitting and agreeing to take action to correct some of these issues. That's where the problem is, right? I know SACEFA has some funding to do some monitoring in schools, check some interventions, monitor some government in collaboration with government themselves, right? To monitor things like the school feeding, the whatever interventions that are ongoing, right? And so these things are monitored and, of course, are reported. So the key question is the actions that are being taken to deal with these issues. For us in Action Aid, like I was saying, we've established what we call the safe spaces for girls, because we find them as part of the marginalized category. And in the safe space, we are also teaching about respect and rights.
Okay.
The need to respect one another. Teach the young girl, respect the rights of the boy, respect the rights of the girl. And surprisingly, when we started some of these activities, the boys started coming to say, we too also want a safe space for the boys. And I think that if that sort of intervention is done, it will help to checkmate a lot of things. Because the boys will now have their own space to talk about some of the things.
So what do you do in safe space?
In safe space, we've trained, we have a facilitator, trained teachers, you know. We work with these teachers who train these girls on several things, life skills and things that ordinarily will not be taught in the... And then, of course, it has provided a platform for reporting some of the violence and sexual harassment that we have.
Abuses.
Some of these things I'm sharing on this screen was not just by every student, it was through the safe space intervention that we got reports.
Okay.
You understand? And so we trained them on rights, trained them on rights to education. So, of course, the issue of understanding that you need to have that education is there. And, of course, some have even the sexual education we talked about. So many topics under life skills, the hygiene, skill acquisition for some, you understand? And then just to attract girls to come to school. And then within the school, what are the issues that are affecting them? They talk. And we find a way of getting back to the school. If there are issues of harassment with the teachers, we raise it with the school management. Is there a way you can check some of these things? And we're happy that some of our facilitators have also served as checks to check some of these things. There are instances where some of the teachers we work with have cautioned other male teachers once they get reports of such kind of things. And of course, some principals have been very helpful, you know, taking action and ensuring that such kind of things does not happen again. Working with the community-based structure where the issue is beyond the powers of the principal. Because also you also have some teachers who are more powerful than the principal because of the connections they have out there. You know, some teaching jobs are political. It is about your relationship, your relation being in a high position gives you that teaching job, and so nobody can touch you. And so we have community structures like the SBMC. This is where they come in to support the school authority and also monitor some of those things. There are instances where the SBMC have taken actions around violence, sexual harassment, working with NGOs, putting in place reporting mechanisms for those kind of actions to be reported. And of course, victims are being supported. There
is this, sorry to cut you short, but I think this also deserves being mentioned. Okay. The issue of exam malpractice.
Yes.
It's also part of moral decadence.
Exactly.
Today, you see pupils, they rather than reading, they are watching movies, they are listening to music. So when exam period comes, they are preparing orijo, or I don't know what they call it now. They are preparing, writing things on their laps, on their palms, or you know, in papers and concealed in their private part and so, so that they will not bring it out during exams and right. Exam malpractice. How strong is that in that? Because we have been focused on sexual harassment, bullying, and all of that. This issue of exam malpractice is also very widespread now. The reason JAB said it has not released the result of is they are checking for reports of exam malpractices in some of the centers where the exams have been held in the past few days. So run us through how strong and how do we checkmate all of this as a roundup?
So most schools, what they do before students going to write their examinations, you are asked to drop your bags, drop your things outside. But of course, is also to have, like the G&C counselors, check within the body, search whether there are anything everybody has. And then I'm happy with what JAM did. Coincidentally, someone I know wrote JAM, and she said even the glasses she was wearing, they asked her, is it medicated or is it what is the other
fancy?
That she could not fancy. That she could use it to.
Oh, okay. Whether it's something that
she's hiding, I don't know how that is done. They were not even allowed to wear earrings. JAM put in all these strict measures because the issues of malpractice is high. Like you said, students are not ready to learn. People go to school, half of the other day is trying to hustle. Many homes trying to hustle, support parents and all that. And so time to study is quite difficult. While some is just laziness, sheer laziness, not wanting to do well and feeling that exam malpractice is the shortcut, you know, for them to pass the exams. And so they do all manner of things. So it is high. It is happening, and that is why JAMB is putting in such measures. But the major schools I know, when you go to school during examinations, you find out that people drop their school bags outside, and then of course what I do not show whether that body search is very
but
strong.
There are issues of mercenaries helping,
yes, as well too,
impostors
bringing people
to help you write the exam. So as we in the last 30 seconds before we exit this stage,
okay,
parents, what will be your charge? You are a mother, you are a wife, before you are educationist and all of that. So what's the role? How does parents also help in checkmating this menace of moral decadence?
I think it's just to continue to ensure that they instill good morals in their children, monitor their children, the kind of friends they keep, the time they get back home. Like I said, you have homes where the whereabouts of the children, sometimes the parents do not know. Check them, follow them up. If possible, go to the school once in a while and ask questions. Interface with the teachers, find out where your child is doing well, what support you can provide. Because sometimes when you don't go to the school, maybe in the home you are trying to curtail a lot of things, but the real decadence is out there in the school. So once in a while, open days, don't joke with them. PTA meetings, don't joke with those kind of things. Because when you go, you hear a lot of reports. And so that way you also know that you need to also put in extra effort. So let's not just throw all the responsibility to teachers that, okay, between 8 to 1 or 2 p.m., the children are in school, so it's the responsibility. When they come back, also take over your own responsibility. Sacrifice. We need to pay more sacrifice to be able to check what our children are doing. Have more time with them. Make them friends. Make your children your friends. Then talk to them.
Don't bully your children so that the children will be scared of you to even talk to you.
Exactly.
Because some of these students, some of these pupils, they want to confide in their mothers.
Exactly. And
they want to tell their father their story, but they are not giving them.
No, it's true. That's true. That's true.
And that makes
true.
them to be scared
very,
of,
very
and then
important.
they keep withdraw.
And then when your children even come to talk to you, don't push them away and send them off.
That's it.
Give your time and listen to them. Even whatever, if what they are saying is even rubbish, listen to them and advise them afterwards. Give them that listening ear. It's very, very important.
I can't thank you enough, Keta Yagiwa, for coming on the show. It's really, really shocking. It's extremely worrisome.
Yeah.
What is going on in our schools? Primary schools, secondary schools. And these are leaders of tomorrow.
Sure.
So, like you have heard my guest say, pay attention to what's happening with your children. Give them attention. Watch them closely. Monitor them. If they are in boarding school, do a random check on them. Beyond and above open day and PTA days, do a random check on them. Hear from their teachers, from their matrons and hostel, whatever. I didn't have the privilege of going to boarding school, so I wouldn't know what kind of system goes on there. But it's very important for us to pay attention to our children because they are our future. And if you don't pay attention to them, you may have to hire lawyers to defend them when they get into crime. That will be the size of our first discussion segment on development focus with Jide on ITV today, 11th of May 2022. I want to thank you, Keta, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And stay safe and stay blessed.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a bit for the second and concluding segment of development focus with Jide on ITV. Stay tuned.